Welcome to the 5th annual Web3 Investor Day. On behalf of Brian Walls, Bridge Alternatives, myself, the whole team at Decasonic, New Forum, Van Eck, the other presenting sponsors, thank you for joining us today. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces. It's also wonderful to welcome so many new faces who are joining us here for the first time. Looking around this room, looking around the room outside, I'm filled with gratitude. Thank you for taking interest in our conference today, contributing your expertise, your thoughts, and your curiosity to this community. 5 years ago, Brian and I sat around a conference table and we set out to build a community around capital and ideas. Brian had this concept that still sticks with me in my mind, that when ideas meet capital, innovation thrives. That belief guides our conference for the last 5 years. It guides our gathering today. I'll go through quickly the journey of the last 5 years of themes.
I hope I remember it all.
2022, defining the frontier. 2023, proof of adoption, right before the three-letter acronym of FTX. That led to 2024, transformation to a fresh tomorrow, the reemergence from that market cycle. And then last year, full speed ahead with kind of the election and all we saw in the regulatory clarity. This year, our theme is investing in adoption. And before I do that, I want to put on this jacket. As we were preparing for this conference, something personal happened in our family. My father unexpectedly passed away. One of the last gifts he gave me was this Chinese suit, the same Chinese suit he would wear to his Rotary Club meetings where he gathered other community of civic leaders to fight polio or raise money. To me, it's a reminder of a few lessons that he really embodied about community. Never forget about the communities of the past. Our communities were always embodied by the ancestors before the Sioux generation to really dream big and pursue a better life. It meant immigration into the US. Appreciate the communities of the present. When you got to America, it was always about the American dream, this embodiment that unified all Americans to work hard and do well. And then certainly, the challenge he gave me and my three younger brothers: shape the communities of the future. Share your ideas, bring people together, work for the common good to drive the change you really want to see. So those three lessons have really stayed with me. And I think it really shapes how I think about innovation too, bringing ideas together with capital. I've started this early stage venture fund called Decasonic. We raised $50 million from a lot of limited partners here in Chicago. We bring this community together to drive innovation. Innovation expands the possibilities. It allows founders to dream big, to chase after the frontier. Adoption, our theme for today, defines that value. It creates the value. Without adoption, maybe the possibilities shouldn't exist. And then certainly, it's the communities of people like us today in this room that shape what endures. And it's enduring adoption that really drives the long-lasting impact in society. So every major technology innovation follows that journey. I've been in technology since the dot-com days. I'm not a boomer, I'm a Gen Xer. We called it the dot-com.
Easy.
A lot of that innovation creates new use cases that you can't imagine. Brian and I were talking about Facebook, then Instagram, then WhatsApp. Adoption transforms a lot of those possibilities into business models, short-term, long-term. How do you loss lead into profitability? And then communities determine what really becomes part of everyday life across work and play. And I believe this is where Web3 lies today. Web3, the unifying technologies of blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and digital assets. That's the journey we'll explore together today. Very excited for a lot of the perspectives from the builders, the investors, the innovators in this room across the various topics we have on our programming. Yeah. Venture capital, market infrastructure, tokenization, products, regulations, convergence of Web3 and AI. And as a quick teaser, I'm very excited to show 4 demos from our AI engineering at Decasonic. 4 ways we believe we're pushing the frontiers of those use cases. Every conversation contributes a different perspective. I was mentioning to Brian that we have some panelists up here, but equally, I think everyone could have been on a panel.
Yeah.
Together, I think we can tell the story of innovation, shape it for how we believe it should create a better tomorrow. I hope today you contribute your curiosity, your perspective. I hope you leave with a renewed energy that Brian and I have around what's possible and what future generations can benefit from our work. Brian.
Great, thank you, Paul. Paul and Decasonic are great partners. Keith Johnson from Bridge does most of the work from our side, to be honest. I want to thank the sponsors as well. I want to thank Van Eck and Newform and all of our sponsors. They make it happen. I'm going to be emceeing today. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, that guy, yes, you're going to see me all day. And I just, was going over the content this morning, and I was getting excited. Just kind of the idea that we're at a stage now, and that I get excited about, and you can see in the headlines, stable coins and tokenization and AI agents and everything. But and what I'm excited is the panels and the people in the audience help us to see that kind of second order, right? Because I can get excited. I'll give you an example of the first order. I really come from the futures markets, right? And in futures trading and in a lot of trading, you have collateral you ask for up front before somebody trades. The amount of collateral you're asking for is approximately how much money they could lose before you could get more money out of them. That's kind of how we time it, right? And so the amount they could, how long could you go without getting money? Well, 3 days basically, right? Because it's Saturday, Sunday, and maybe there's a holiday on Monday. I need enough to cover it all. The problem is the markets move faster than the money, right? Well, what happens when we have stable coins and the money moves as fast as the market? And what happens when the securities and the assets are tokenized and you no longer have to have redundant liquidity pools? If you look at futures clearing, the futures clearing houses is like $3 trillion. Over-the-counter FX, over-the-counter structured products is another $5 trillion. Repo market, stuff like that. You're looking at like $10 trillion that is market infrastructure collateral that is basically to protect that markets move faster than money. And so I'm so excited about this innovation, and we're going to be talking about it on a lot of panels today. But honestly, it's hard for me to say, and what happens next, other than, okay, maybe collateral requirements go down 20%. That sounds good, right? 20%. That's $2 trillion of collateral gets freed up. I can't even really think what the innovators will do with that, what businesses get built off of that. And it's the same thing in AI. We're doing a lot of work in AI. We have a lot of AI panels. And everybody likes the idea of an AI agent. A lot of people here had to rebook their flights and stuff like that. Oh, if only I had an agent rebook the flight, But it's further, right? It's what happens when AI and robotics are using crypto rails to purchase data and move things around, right? Like, I get the headline, but it's really fun to sit with knowledgeable people and say, what's the second order effects of this? What are the innovations? Because like Paul said, I was there when we got excited about hyperlinks, that you could click on a hyperlink and it would bring you to a website. That's amazing. But I never imagined Facebook or TikTok or anything like that. Like, other people do that, and that's what we're here today. And I'm really excited about that. That's what this conference has always been, right? It's always been, what is happening right now, and can we as a community get together and think about what are, as Paul said, like we had this conversation and he was talking about capital, he was talking about ideas and the builders, and I'm like, yeah, but without capital, there is no innovation. And that's kind of how we keep sticking to that, which is like, it's ideas and capital together. So today we're here to hear about the ideas and maybe about the capital. And I just really want to thank everybody for coming and joining us. And we're going to have a lot of panels, and I just ask you to keep that question in your mind. Is what is the second order effect of this? There's an innovation happening, and you can even ask it in the Q&A, or you can ask the person sitting next to you.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, cool. Yeah. All right, we're ready.